This is the sermon for July 3rd, 2022. I'm going to preach from John 5, 1 through 9, and it's entitled Getting Unstuck. John 5, 1 through 9. Soon another feast came around, and Jesus was back in Jerusalem. Near the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there was a pool, in Hebrew called Bethesda, with 5 alcoves. Hundreds of sick people, blind, crippled, paralyzed, were in these alcoves. One man had been an invalid there for 38 years. When Jesus saw him stretched out by the pool and knew how long he had been there, he said, "Do you want to get well?" The sick man said, "Sir, when the water is stirred, I don't have anybody to put me in the pool. By the time I get there, somebody else is already in." Jesus said, "Get up, take your bedroll, start walking." The man was healed on the spot. He picked up his bedroll and walked off. Well, 38 years is a long time to be stuck and to sit on your mat. Every day is the same, waiting, watching, hoping. Not much changes. Sitting on his mat has become a way of life for the man in today's gospel. His life is stagnant. He's unable to see that the deep well of life is within him. He's convinced that life will bubble up outside of him, over there, in that magic pool of water. So he sits on his mat, waiting, watching, and hoping that things will change. I've done that so often in my life, and I imagine many of you have. The source of new life is out there somewhere, and if only I could get there, it would be different. And I keep hoping and watching and waiting. Well, there was a belief in this pool that the pool had healing properties and that it could change one's life. It was said every now and then an angel would stir the water would begin to bubble, and the first one in the water would be healed. The man in today's gospel won't get off his mat until he sees the first bubble. Again, don't we want to see the beginning of whatever miraculous thing we're waiting for, hoping for, watching for? We want to see the beginning of it, and then we'll jump in. I suggest that we jump in first, that we find a way to jump in, and I have some ideas on that. The man in the story is living in as soon as life. Yeah, so many people, I know there's some percentage that weight loss surgery works for, and I know too that many have died from complications. It's a sad thing. But a lot of people think, oh, when I lose weight, or when I graduate, or when I retire, then life will be good. It's hard now, and I don't care for it much now. I'm getting through it now. But when that happens, whatever that is, it'll change. So the man thinks, as soon as the water bubbles, then I will get up off my mat. As soon as I get to the water, my life will be better. As soon as I get to the water, my problems will be fixed. The pool, though, is an illusion. It's magical thinking, which I recommend against. It'll help us. Denial helps us in some desperate situations. It's a human need, but not in normal life, not in daily life, I would say. The magical thinking convinces us that our life is no more than our circumstances. It deceives us into believing that life is to be found outside of ourselves. It tricks us into living an as soon as life. Most of us know what that's like. We say often, as soon as this or that, everything will be better. I'll be happy. My problems will go away. I'll be satisfied. All is well. Well, the pool has a strong attraction for us. And children often say, as soon as I get big, grow up, as soon as I'm an adult. And of course, that makes me think of the movie Big with Tom Hanks. That was such a delightful movie. I watched it several times when it came out on video. Of course, that was way back in the days when it was on video. Um, he kept thinking, if only, and his wish was to grow up. And after his wish, with that magical fortune teller machine, he gets what he wanted. Suddenly he's grown. And so he gets a job. And what is he good at? Play. So he gets a job designing toys. He has lots of fun. And his best friend, though, remains a child and remains in touch with the child in them both, for the Tom Hanks character as well. And pretty soon his buddy gets discouraged because the Tom Hanks character is all involved in work and the grind and the responsibilities, and I can't play and I can't go there, and too much work. And then eventually the Tom Hanks character realizes adult life, is not all it's cracked out to be, when, he was a kid and fairly carefree, except for wishing for that other. We often think, as soon as I graduate, then I'll start living life. As soon as I get a job, I'll start living life. As soon as I get a better job, I'll start living life. As soon as I get married, or as soon as I get out of this relationship that's dragging me down. As soon as I have more time, more money, a better house. Yeah. As soon as I get what I want, I'll get over this grief and no longer feel sad. If I can only lose 10 pounds and get in shape, then I'll be happy. So as soon as life, we want to say no thank you to that. We might see it all around us, but as faithful believers, we don't have to buy into that magical thinking. Like I said last week, there's a hostage crisis going on in our thinking. Happiness is being held hostage. I'm not coming out until I get a new car and a gallon of chocolate chip ice cream. And that's the thinking in us that says, I can't be happy until. That's thinking. That's trying to live anxiously into the future and not being present in the here and now. What I've been learning is that being present in the here and now makes a big difference. And we can accept things exactly as they are. Not waiting for the new car and the gallon of chocolate chip ice cream. We accept things exactly as they are. We live into the present now. We become aware of our sensory experiences. And I have trouble with this. This is why my youngest son is my mindfulness teacher. Because I'm always living in my thinking and in my head. I've been trained well over my lifetime. And so he helps me in unified mindfulness to come to the present moment and to become aware. One of the practices we do is see, hear, feel. And this is actually a practice in counseling for helping anxious clients. You help them learn to count 3 things that are brown, 3 things that are green, and they see and they focus on what is present here and now. What can I hear? I hear the birds. I hear an airplane. See, hear, feel. What am I feeling right now? Is it the air moving gently on my skin? So this man, though, has put life on hold. The man in the story has put life on hold. Pause button has been pushed. And he feels imprisoned by the circumstances of his life. And even when Jesus asks him, do you want to be made well? He doesn't say yes. Instead he says, everyone else gets to the pool first. They're cutting in line. I'm not fast enough. And how often do we do that? We make excuses instead of saying, yes, I want to be made whole and to be made well. So I'm not suggesting that the circumstances of our lives are irrelevant or have no effect. Gene Wendt recommended a book called Follow the River, which was a harrowing story, and I found out that it was based on true stories of white settlers that were captives of one of the Indian tribes. I forget which one. Um, and how they were treated rather poorly. They weren't treated as whites would treat them, but they were still treated poorly. And two women escape. The mother had to leave her 3 children behind in good care, but she had to let go of them in order to survive. And the other woman made it to survival as well. I know I'm ruining the surprise at the end of the book, but they do. They make it. And it doesn't ruin the book at all to say that. The circumstances of their lives in that great escape were horrible. Horrible. But they still believed in the strength within them in the here and now. And somehow that helped them to escape and to make a very harrowing journey. And so we can find life within us, God within us, the Spirit within us. You know, it's been said, life will bring you pain all by itself. Your responsibility is to create joy. Oh, I do have that quote. That's Milton Erickson. Life will bring you pain all by itself. Your responsibility is to create joy. And the only way to have joy and wonder and awe is to be present in the moment. We can remember, but we become present in the moment to experience that. Even these 2 women in the book experienced awe and delight in the midst of their harrowing journey. They found ways to experience it. One woman who was remembering getting to the top of a small mountain said, "It was awesome," she said. "I mean, really awesome. Not just the way people say it without meaning it." So where's awe in the present moment? Regularly feeling the emotion of awe, a sense of the divine or the majesty of nature, helps people experience more joy in their lives. For some, remembering terrible, terrible circumstances and that they survived and that they moved on to resilience in life. I was just telling some parents the other day that what we want for our children is resilience. We don't want perfection. There's a lot of things we think we want. We want obedience. We want them to cooperate when we need them to cooperate. But what we really want is resilience. One of the ways kids get that is because parents make mistakes and they apologize when they make mistakes. They catch themselves doing things that they'd rather not do. And they catch themselves right after and apologize and vow within themselves to make it better. And joy is important. I don't know if you can experience joy and awe and wonder at the same time that you're worrying. I'm not sure that they can coexist. But we need to enjoy at least some parts of our experience. I was thinking about depression and how depression is the opposite of awe. You know, the man on the mat definitely had depression, 38 years. And I've been in severe depression. Like I said, I've lived to tell the tale, but about 35% of people in severe, chronic, clinical depression don't survive. Very high rate don't survive. And I was thinking about how depression sucks the joy right out of your life. And if you've ever read the Harry Potter books, there are dementors. And somehow they get in and they suck the soul, the spirit, the joy out of your life. And it's nothing but darkness. In fact, it's worse than darkness. It's a deep hole in which darkness is even gone. That's how bad it is. And that's what depression is like. It will steal your joy, your will to live, every last ounce of energy. And unless you've experienced that kind of pit, being in that kind of pit, you can't imagine what it's like. It's not just the blues. And so in those cases, they need someone to carry them until they can walk again. And then I think about the four friends that lowered the mat down into the roof. They dug a hole in the roof, and the four friends lowered the mat, and their friend was on it, and Jesus healed him. Again, at some point, we need to accept the gift that God gives us. Jesus doesn't change our outer circumstances very often. He changes us. We change. And then when we're called into a new way of being, seeing, acting, speaking, and thinking, we stand and rise to that new life. We see miracles all around us today. We have to have eyes to see them. They're not the same as magical thinking, not at all. No, it takes courage. It takes either friends that will help you with will, and then having your own will to get up off the mat. And so the man still had to get up. If Jesus healed him, great. But he still had to get up, roll up his mat, put it under his arm, and then walk. Imagine that. And that's what some of us do when circumstances aren't changing, and we need to find a way. We need to have courage to find a way, like the women in Follow the River. They found ways to get through the worst circumstances. The pool of Bethesda is drained of its power over us. There is freedom where there was once imprisonment. Inertia gives way to creativity. Once stagnant waters now bubble. We look for the bubbling in our lives, not out there, not somewhere else. The life Jesus offers doesn't happen as soon as. Instead, it happens here and now, in this place, in this time, in these circumstances. If you're sitting on your mat, are you looking for a miraculous cure? Or are you willing to take the power of the Holy Spirit, stand up, get off your mat, and walk? Amen.